Hello. Imagine a mega project that takes you 600 meters underground, right into the heart of a massive mountain. Here, in the small Japanese town of Hida, people decided to carve out the largest man-made cavern in the world. It took millions of dollars, years of engineering work, and the combined efforts of hundreds of scientists from across the globe. But what could possibly drive them to take on such a monumental challenge? And what is the purpose of this colossal underground reservoir hidden deep beneath the earth? You're about to find out, along with all the fascinating details of this incredible project that promises to change the way we see the universe.
We're standing inside the massive golden chamber known as Super-K, a place that's normally filled to the brim with crystal clear water. But right now, it's undergoing maintenance. The water has been drained, giving us a rare look inside. What you're seeing could easily pass for a villain's lair straight out of a spy movie. It took years to build, and its construction brought together engineers, researchers, and scientists from several different countries. The cost? Tens of millions of dollars. And to make it happen, people literally had to hollow out an entire mountain. That mountain sits in the city of Hida, located in Japan's Gifu Prefecture. Hida is a small town with a population of just under 25,000. Its economy mainly revolves around two traditional crafts, sake brewing and the production of Japanese candles. Locals also make mitarashi dango, skewered rice dumplings glazed with sweet soy sauce. And yet, this quiet little town became the site of one of the most ambitious scientific endeavors ever attempted in Japan, the excavation of a massive mountain to create an enormous man-made cavern, the largest of its kind on Earth. Humanity hasn't seen a scientific project of this magnitude since the construction of the Large Hadron Collider in 2006. A colossal cave buried 600 meters beneath solid rock. To bring it to life, it took 560 researchers from 101 institutes across 21 countries and a staggering $600 million, roughly $1 million for every meter of depth. It all began with the creation of a tunnel leading straight into the heart of the mountain.
And then in 2020, using a newly built 96-meter access tunnel and a 725-meter borehole, extensive surveys were carried out to study the rock in detail. Apparently, the results satisfied everyone, and construction moved forward. Around the tunnel entrance, they built a courtyard, a power station, and a water supply and drainage system. Excavation of the approach tunnel leading to the main underground cavity began in May 2021. It took about 9 months just to dig the primary passage, 1.9 kilometers long. In June 2022, the tunnel reached the center of the dome of the future reservoir. But tunneling didn't stop there. They still needed to carve out a bypass route that would circle the main cavern and be used for installing equipment and carrying out other work. The bypass was dug. And then it was time to create the cavern for the Hyper-Kamiokande project, abbreviated Hyper-K. Work on it began in November 2022. This was the most crucial phase of construction. In fact, the whole enterprise was undertaken for this very chamber. The dome section was excavated on the spiral pattern of a snail shell, and anchors were installed in the ceiling to widen the space and secure the surrounding rock. After all, this isn't just a room, it has a very specific purpose. But more on that later. Right now, as you watch, construction is still underway. In the end, the dome section is planned to measure 69 meters across. If all goes according to plan, it will become the largest man-made underground cavity in the world. By the way, the original plan called for creating the space for the reservoir with explosive charges. Just imagine how skilled the demolition experts would have to be to pull that off, detonating material beneath a mountain that already had tunnels cut into it when one wrong move could bring the whole thing down. But back to our cavern. The main underground chamber is essentially a giant cylinder, 69 meters in diameter and 73 meters tall. In simpler terms, it's massive. Excavation of the soil for the cylindrical water reservoir is expected to continue throughout 2024, after which the lining phase is scheduled to begin in 2025. Once that's complete, a stainless steel cylindrical tank will be installed inside the cavern and filled with 260,000 tons of water. And, as you can probably guess, filling such a reservoir is no simple task. Back in 1996,
When Japan completed the smaller brother of this project, the Super-Kamiokande, it took 2 full months just to fill its 50,000-ton stainless steel tank. This new one, however, is 5,000 times larger. Granted, modern technology will likely make the process faster, but even after the reservoir is filled, it will still take several more months for the water to reach the required purity. Few people realize this, but an average person drinks around 35 to 60 tons of water over their entire lifetime. Yet, this water isn't meant for drinking. It needs to be far purer. The footage you're seeing now was filmed inside that smaller brother, the Super-Kamiokande. It's also filled with ultra-pure water, the purest water on Earth. It's so pure that it's actually corrosive. Because, of course, no one spends millions of dollars just to dig a giant swimming pool inside a mountain and open it to tourists. No, what's happening here is far more fascinating. And yes, even the water itself plays a key role.
With prolonged exposure, water that pure can actually dissolve metal. Scientists discovered this back in 2000 during a routine maintenance check when they found a forgotten wrench lying at the bottom of the reservoir. 5 years later, all that remained was its faint outline. And if a person were to immerse themselves in this water, their skin would begin to peel. Now let's take a moment to talk about the mountain itself, because the location for this project was chosen very carefully. When you build something inside a mountain, there's always the risk of serious problems, especially when expanding the dome. One mistake, one minor safety oversight, and that's it. Hundreds of workers could end up buried under tons of rock with no chance of rescue. That's precisely why this specific mountain was selected, for safety. It's known as Hida, one of the hardest and most stable rock formations in all of Japan. This ancient metamorphic rock was formed under immense pressure in the earliest ages of the Earth, and it's strong enough to withstand all the construction happening inside it. Another advantage is that there are abundant freshwater reserves nearby. But let's return to the structure itself. I've already mentioned how enormous it is, the height, the diameter, all those numbers, but I know how hard it can be to visualize such scale. So let's look at a few comparisons.
Here's our underground cylinder. It stands 73 meters tall. That's roughly the height of a 23-story building. Pretty big, right? Or take, for example, the Tokyo Dome, a massive indoor stadium in Tokyo, with an interior height of 56 meters. If you were to place this excavated cylinder inside the Tokyo Dome, it would poke straight through the roof. And that's not even counting its impressive width. The chamber's diameter is around 68 to 69 meters, about the width of a full-sized soccer field. To put it even more simply, the Statue of Liberty could comfortably fit inside the cylinder, though without the pedestal, since with it she'd stick out about 20 meters above the top. So here comes the main question. Why build all of this in the first place? What exactly are scientists trying to study? And why go through the trouble of hollowing out an entire mountain to do it? The answer lies in a word you may have heard before: neutrino. Imagine an ancient particle racing through space after the explosion of a star. This particle has been traveling across the cosmos for billions of years, born from a massive supernova 8 times larger than our sun. That particle is called a neutrino, literally a little neutron. Neutrinos are among the most mysterious particles in nature, capable of passing through solid matter as if it doesn't even exist. They're often called ghost particles because they barely interact with anything, yet they're also the most abundant particles in the universe after photons, the particles of light. In other words, they're everywhere, yet we still know surprisingly little about them.
Every second, about 100 trillion neutrinos harmlessly pass through your body and through pretty much everything else around you. Yet only one of those neutrinos on average will collide with an atomic nucleus or an electron in your body once every 50 years. That's how incredibly elusive they are. So when a reaction involving a neutrino actually happens, it's nothing short of a miracle. Most of the neutrinos reaching Earth come from the sun and distant stars. They're also produced when cosmic rays collide with Earth's atmosphere. Neutrinos are unimaginably tiny, far smaller than atoms, and they don't respond to electromagnetic forces. But in extremely rare cases, when a neutrino collides with an atom in water, the atom's nucleus recoils, and an electron is knocked loose from its shell. This creates the Cherenkov effect,
a faint, dark blue glow in the water. Even with this visual clue, studying neutrinos is incredibly difficult. They're about 100,000 times smaller than electrons, making them nearly impossible to detect, even with the most advanced instruments. The Super-Kamiokande detector can capture around 20 solar neutrinos and 10 atmospheric neutrinos per day, and the more scientists discover about them, the more questions arise. It's clear that neutrinos play a vital role in the physics of elementary particles, stars, black holes, and the universe itself. If scientists can truly understand them, they may also uncover new insights into our own origins. Neutrinos offer the only direct window into the inner workings of supernova explosions and the birth of black holes. In our own Milky Way galaxy, such events occur roughly once every 30 to 50 years, though a visible flash, bright enough to be seen from Earth, happens only once every 400 years. When a supernova explodes, it releases an enormous amount of energy, about 99% of it carried away in the form of neutrinos. These particles are created deep within the collapsing core of the star, and as they escape, they pass through surrounding matter without interacting. That's why neutrinos are the only true witnesses to what happens inside a dying star. And here's the brilliance of the Super-Kamiokande detector. It can pinpoint, with remarkable accuracy, the direction from which the neutrino came during a supernova event. That's because the electron ejected by the neutrino's collision preserves the original trajectory of the neutrino itself.
The Hyper-Kamiokande project will become the largest underground detector in the world, designed to observe neutrinos and search for proton decay. It's essentially a giant water-filled chamber lined with sensors that detect the tiny flashes of light produced when neutrinos collide with the electrons or atomic nuclei in the water. And remember that ultra-pure water we talked about earlier? It's crucial here because the purer the water, the more interactions can occur between neutrinos and ordinary matter, protons, neutrons, and electrons. In other words, the water has to be purer than you can possibly imagine. The Super-Kamiokande detector constantly filters its water to remove impurities and uses ultraviolet light to eliminate any trace of bacteria. Construction of this younger brother of the new Hyper-K tank was completed in 1996. Hidden beneath a mountain in central Japan, the Super-Kamiokande experiment, which cost around $140 million, is housed in what used to be one of Japan's largest zinc mines. Now, that same mountain hosts one of the most successful scientific experiments ever conducted. Super-K is actually the second-generation detector. The first one kicked off a global wave of neutrino research, while the second made a series of groundbreaking discoveries about their mysterious properties. So it's no surprise that scientists have enormous expectations for the third detector, Hyper-Kamiokande. Science has advanced, researchers have decades of experience to build on, and this new detector will be much larger, meaning more water and more sensors, or as some call them, light bulbs. And considering that both of the previous experiments led to Nobel Prizes in physics, it's easy to understand why hopes are so high. Without diving too deep into the technical side, it's extremely complex and, well, very scientific, let's talk about those light bulbs you see lining the walls. They're actually photomultiplier tubes, each 50 centimeters in diameter. Despite their appearance, they don't emit light, they act as eyes. Yes, it's literally a wall of thousands of eyes, which looks both fascinating and a little eerie. Each of these 11,129 sensors is so sensitive that it can detect the light of a small flashlight shining from the surface of the moon. The glass bulbs, hand-blown by skilled artisans and coated with a thin layer of gold, shimmer beautifully, but this breathtaking sight can only be seen during maintenance periods. The rest of the time, the chamber remains in complete and absolute darkness. Now, imagine this. The Hyper-K cylinder will be equipped with 40,000 ultra-sensitive optical sensors. With technology like that, it's no wonder scientists hope to uncover new cosmic mysteries, and maybe even bring Japan another Nobel Prize in physics. The data collection is expected to begin in 2027. But here's a question: why build all this under a mountain? Why not just put up a massive hangar in the middle of a field? Technically you could, but the research results would be far less reliable. The Japanese placed their detectors deep underground to eliminate interference from other particles. You see, neutrinos aren't the only elementary particles out there. There are 17 types in total. Most of them lose energy as they pass through soil and eventually stop. But neutrinos? They can pass through almost anything: rock, water, even entire planets. That's exactly why detectors are buried beneath mountains. This way, scientists can be absolutely certain that the signals they capture are pure neutrinos. I think you now know enough about neutrinos to impress anyone in a smart conversation. That's all for today, my friends. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and see you soon.